What was daily life like there, like besides school? Because you like obviously in the United States, right? You get up and you go to school and then you come home and then you either are like playing sports or video games or whatever. So obviously it's not it's not the same. Did you have like I remember reading stories about different like refugee camps would set up their own like soccer teams and then they'd play against each other and things like that. There's been drives here in the States to get like old soccer cleats and stuff to send to refugee camps. Um, was there stuff like that at the one that you were at, or not so much?
Yeah, there was actually, and my older brother, he was part of the team that was in the area. So they would travel to other refugee camps and play. But oftentimes soccer was, that's where I really learned and got to fall in love with soccer because we went to school around like 6 a.m. ish. We came back
Mm-hmm.
around 12 because they didn't have food for you at school, so you had to come back home and eat.
All right.
And sometimes you go back to school after you ate, but oftentimes they kind of switched it whether you went to school in the mornings or in the afternoons.
Mm-hmm.
But after school, you just go home, you play soccer, just play soccer in the streets, and for a cool minute, there wasn't really electricity there, so we would play until the moon was out, and the moon was always always shining there.
Mm-hmm.
So play soccer. You went home, you ate. Sometimes, just because our parents were always, trying to find um, just like low income jobs to get some to get food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
That meant the kids we were doing most of the cooking. We were doing most like if you had little siblings, we're taking care of them. So at times it would be like I can play soccer for an hour, and I need to go get water immediately, so I can
Right.
buy for my siblings and I. Or I play soccer for an hour, or didn't play sometimes at all, and I'll be taking care of my siblings. And just
Mm-hmm.
they were good.
Did the did the political tension like kind of come into the camp with the people? Like, were there Hutus and Tutsis in the same camp, or did you see any of that at all, or kind of once you were in the camp, it was like not like
Um,
was the tension still there at all, or not so much?
no, the tension wasn't really there because at that point it was kind of like you flee this terrible thing, and why bring it up in a camp where everybody's trying to reach safety and dream a better life.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't really the whole Tutsi thing wasn't really it was there obviously, but it wasn't really it was nobody paid attention to it. It was kind of like let's just go ahead and survive
Mm-hmm.
so we can make it tomorrow.
But they were mixed together, right? Hutus and Tutsis were mixed
I believe
together.
so. Yeah, yeah, I believe
Yeah.
so. I say that because the whole thing. If I'm me and somebody else were to stand between like in front of you, you can tell between a Hutu or Tutsi. But again, that's because the Belgian really figure out a way to differentiate one between the other. Whether if you had lighter skin, you were taller, you were Tutsi. If you were darker, you were Hutu. But anyways, all that kind of stuff is really like a normal person couldn't tell if
Mm-hmm.
you were Hutu or Tutsi. Um, but it wasn't really a big
Yeah.
deal at
Well,
that
that's
point.
good that it didn't come into the camp then. That would have been not so good.
Yeah.
um, okay, so you're in the camp, you're playing soccer, right? You're running to go to school and get the water and all those different things.
Mhm.
And you were there for how long were you there for?
I was in the camp for about 9 years.
9 years. And
Mhm.
then so your parents make the decision to come to the United States.
So yeah, we were fortunate that there was an opportunity that came with UNICEF. In 2007, 2008 ish, they decided they would send out some refugees to the United States,
Mm-hmm.
and with that entailed a whole a process of selection. So my parents heard about this. They were like, we obviously want to do better for our kids. We want them to have a future that's not as like ours. They have a better future. So they decided to go through the process and apply for resettlement in the United States. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
So how did that work? Because I remember we were talking before. You said it was luck. So you applied, and how did they pick you guys? I guess, or how did the application process work?
So I say it's luck because it was a very just strange process. It was they asked you to provide documents such as birth certificates,
Mm-hmm.
which we were fortunate enough to, we had him. But for others at the time, it's like, you know, the last thing is on your mind is to get a birth certificate. After, let's say your child is born on the way when you're fleeing from Burundi to Tanzania,
Right.
or it wasn't really a thing. So documents like that were requested. It helped a little bit that my father spoke a little bit of English, so he could navigate just a little bit, and they just asked you random tests that you really couldn't prepare for. So we saw people who were relatively well off in the refugee camp, at least more well off than others, go through that same selection process and not get chosen. Just because, again, random reasons. So I say we were lucky and fortunate to get to get chosen to go to the United States.
What were the tests like? Did you have to take any of them, or did your parents just have to take them?
I honestly don't recall. I remember going to the testing centers, and I was just sitting there for a couple of hours and then leaving to go back home. I don't remember much of the tests, at least in that part while we were in that first camp.
Okay.